maybe I just don't need flying in my life anymore. Maybe I should just give up. It's been my dream for quite a long time now to somehow get the time, the money, and the experience that I need to be able to take my rapidly expanding family around the world in a seaplane as a family adventure before they get too old, while they're still children, and to show them the parts of the world that they probably won't get to see once they've grown up and set out on their own. Because that's the magic of seaplanes. You can reach places in a seaplane that you simply cannot reach any other way. And I mean, apart from being a wonderful adventure in its own right, to get to do that with my kids, I think would be the trip of a lifetime, and be a bonding experience with them as well, something that we'll always have to talk about. And I've never considered it a guaranteed done deal that it'll happen. It's always been a dream, and that's the whole point of that's what a dream is, isn't it? But the purpose of this YouTube channel has been to document my efforts towards making that happen. And in a nutshell, I need a lot more seaplane pilot experience, and I need a lot more money. And so the two things that I'm trying to accomplish are as much flying as possible, as much seaplane flying as possible, especially, and to run my business, Best Agent, and to get it to the point where hopefully it might yield the necessary funds to somehow make this happen. But this year, 2022, has tested my endurance to my limits. And I've always been surprised at the pilots who've given up flying. And I thought, how can you give it up? It's such a magical thing to do. It's so special. It's so important. But this year, I think more than ever, I've understood. So, I mean, from a pure flying point of view, this year has been, it's not been terrible. I mean, by most people's standards, it's still been a pretty good year. But, last year, 2021, I did nearly 110, 115 hours flying, including a lot of seaplane flying in Norway, in the 182 that I have a share in. And this year, I think I've barely managed to scrape 40 hours. Didn't get to fly the seaplane in Norway at all because that's been inoperative this year. Luckily, did get a couple of hours flying a seaplane in Maine in August, which is wonderful. But I want to start by recapping 2022, bringing us up to today. And today, by the way, is the 20th of December, 2022. And the weather's quite crap. So today is probably the last flight of the year. And so it's a sort of relevant, poignant day to do this video on. The thing that gets me about being a private pilot, PPL flying, is that unlike any other activity I've ever done, and I've done plenty, I've been riding horses most of my life, motorbikes, playing the drums, riding a bike, all these playing the piano, all these kind of things. Yes, of course, if you don't do stuff for a while, your skills get a bit rusty and everything else. But I've never encountered anything like flying where your confidence can evaporate to close to zero in a matter of weeks. It's astonishing. I mean, right now, here we are, and I am feeling a less accomplished and less capable pilot currently than at any point in the last 3 years. Which is why today's flight, I took an instructor with me.
Yeah, it's nice to just get up here and do the basics first. Just get up, get into the cruise, get settled in. And if you hadn't been here today, just that unexpected visibility would have rattled me. And I'd have been like, oh God, I don't know. I think it's the feeling that I'll be okay, but if anything happens, I haven't got the bandwidth to deal with a problem situation. Okay. It's that backup. I mean, sometimes I'm feeling on top of my game, and I'm happy to handle whatever. But at the moment, I wouldn't even contemplate doing any IMC stuff.
I think we all get a little bit of that sometimes. I don't think you're on your own there. I have days where I'm actually thinking I really don't want to be up here.
Yeah,
definitely. Doesn't happen very often, but
And then there's also that feeling that when I'm in this state of mind where I'm probably making mistakes that I'm unaware that I'm making. And again, having someone else, there's a better chance of catching that if I do.
Well, I think everybody makes mistakes. It's whether you spot them and put them right again. That's the important thing.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, when I fly on my own, I'm a lot less concerned than when I've got passengers on board. And it's obviously having passengers on board, there is an extra layer.
Extra approach, pipeline 60.
I was flying the other day and I put the QNH in the transponder. Everybody cocks up, don't they?
Oh yeah. It's again when I'm feeling on my game, I'll still make mistakes, but I'm not worried about that. Okay, I can handle a mistake. But it's almost like, you know, reserves, mental reserves. You need mental reserves for flying, and when my mental reserves are currently 0. But I'm just really happy. I mean, you know, also, I hate the plane not being flown enough. Hate it. I just sit there at night dreaming about the engine corroding away.
My question is this: how can it be that with my own plane, that dream come true of my own plane that I've had for 3 years now, can I be in this situation where my flying confidence is the lowest I can remember it being? With flying, you're either moving forward, you're either growing and progressing as a pilot, or you're going backwards very fast. It's almost impossible to just stand still. I mean, you can do it if you just do the occasional nice VFR days flying and don't really go very far. And that's fine. I know lots of pilots that do that. And that's a nice thing to be able to do. But that's not what I want to do. And I think that being a private pilot and sustaining and growing your private pilot skills whilst trying to run businesses, whilst trying to homeschool children, whilst trying to you know, and for those of you who've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that this time last year I talked about a whole bunch of bombshells that went off. And
sometimes there's so much happening, I don't even have time to do updates for so long.
And actually today I've had there was a court case today. It was a procedural hearing for the biggest of the court cases, and it's added to the stress of this year. And I've made no secret of it. I've been up against it financially. I've been up against it time-wise. I've been up against it with work. My work has been so overwhelming this year that it has made me feel trodden into the mud, if you know what I mean. And that's self-inflicted. It's no one else's fault but mine. It's been my decision to keep going as I have, but I simply don't have an alternative. And for those of you shouting at me, yeah, well, you can do this, you can get investors, you can do it. I promise you, what I'm trying to accomplish has never been done. And I mean, that's the only way you can make change, isn't it? And you know, my mission with Best Agent and my YouTube channel, Moving Home with Charlie, my stated goal is a home for everyone. And that's going to require radical change in one of the biggest industries facing the consumer, the home moving industry. It's not going to be easy. And I'm coming up against immense resistance. So that's been exhausting. Really, really has tested my mental stamina. But anyway, leaving all that aside, all that whining and whinging aside, I am not complaining. This year, I've hardly done any flying because let's just run through this year's flying. So my plane did not come out of annual until the middle of February 2022. And on that day, I got to do one good flight. And then the weather was so bad that my next flight was not until the 15th of March. And I got to do a few flights in March. It's good. I had a great flight, which I did a vlog of. I took 4 of us and we flew up to Kemble. And actually, you know, I remember with that flight, I was already struggling with stress at that point. And actually, I didn't know if I actually felt capable of flying my friends back. And in the end, I did. I had a nap in the fire brigade's sort of restroom. And when I woke up, I felt a bit better. And we flew home and it wasn't a problem. And in April, I just did lots of circuit bashing, and I had a couple of abandoned flights, a couple of them where I was actually on the runway, and I called it and I cancelled it. One where I actually had the kids on board. I was trying to take them to see their grandmother for lunch, and I took off. And as soon as I took off, I knew that I shouldn't be flying. And this is part of the whole battle about flying that I'm talking about.
Not today, kids. We're not flying today. I'm not feeling right.
It's, you need mental bandwidth, you need brain power capacity, and you've got to have some in reserve for if things go wrong. And what was clearly happening is that my limited brain capacity was clearly already used up by everything else that was happening, and there was nothing left over. And you need a substantial amount of brain capacity to fly safely. So the battle has been, really that work has been hogging my brain power completely. And then finally in June, I managed to do one great trip. And there's a bunch of videos from this trip. I did my trip up to Scotland. I did 14 flights in 14 days. And that was fantastic. I got stranded on Benbecula in the Outer Hebrides for 6 days. And there's some great videos of that. I met some great people. And that was a wonderful flying adventure. And I had 2 weeks of fantastic flying. Flying is like a cruel lover. It consumes your mind, it consumes your money, and then it takes your flying away from you when you don't want it to. And on the 22nd of June, 5 days before my 50th birthday, I flew it to Blackbush to go and do my first supervised oil change, where I did it myself. But ended up having to pull 2 cylinders off, and the plane spent 3 months parked outside in the elements at Blackbush Airport. So I missed the whole of August, the whole of July, didn't fly at all in July, whole of August and most of September, I didn't get to fly at all. Now, as part of the fix for the problem, I had to get 2 new cylinders. I had to go to the States to do that. And I managed to tie that in and kill 3 birds with one stone. I got to go and see some great friends. And I put a couple of videos up of me going to Maine to pick up the cylinders, and I got to fly some seaplanes. And that was easily the highlight of my flying year, flying the seaplane in Maine in August. Got back and got the plane running, thank God. Yeah, on late September, finally got the plane running and managed to get it back to, and went via Earls Colne. And the Earls Colne airfield, by the way, have just been fantastically supportive of me and this channel. And so I flew up to Earls Colne to see them. I love that airport. It's a large grass runway with a small tarmac strip as well for when the weather's bad and the grass is too waterlogged to land there. But it's a great flying school. They always take great care of me, and thank you guys at Earls Colne. And in October, some of you may remember my airspace infringement dramas, and the third one that I had, which was in August 2021. And finally, in October 2022, I managed to complete the mandated retraining. And that was such a fiasco leading to that. I'm going to do a whole separate video to update on the story of my CAA mandated retraining after my third airspace infringement. And by the way, I can't fault the CAA and all of it. It wasn't them that were part of the fiasco at all. And then I had one flight in November, which was the attempting to get back to Earls Colne to drop a family member off up there, but being diverted by weather and only getting to Shoreham and back. And there's a vlog of that up recently. That was in middle of November. And then today's flight. So it's been one of the most expensive years from an aircraft maintenance point of view that I've had so far. I've still got until the 1st of March 23 until it's due for its next annual. But we're in the middle of winter and the weather's terrible, and I'm not feeling on great flying form. It's worth mentioning the 2 good things that happened this year. Daphne was born on the 30th of June, just a week after the plane's engine had to be pulled apart. So I had no excuse to go anywhere for the first 3 months of her life, although I did get to go to America. So we have Daphne, and as I record this video, she's approaching 6 months old, and she's absolutely delightful. And the other good thing is this, and I owe everyone who's been following my channel for a while some thanks for this on YouTube, because as I've mentioned in other videos, Best Agent is entirely self-funded. Okay, I have funded it through my various businesses, my business in Portugal, mainly because I don't have any investors and I don't have a budget to waste on marketing. I decided a long time ago that I was going to have to find an audience without an advertising budget. And doing this channel was in some ways a sort of rehearsal for doing the Moving Home with Charlie YouTube channel, which until August this year, so just 3 or 4 months ago, just had a couple of hundred subscribers. And then in August, I did a video which I actually duplicated on this channel entitled 8 Reasons Why UK House Prices Will Collapse. And that video kind of went viral. I was hoping I wouldn't have to do a video today, but I got a message from an estate agent this morning that made me realise that things are worse than I thought. And as I record this today, Moving Home with Charlie has now got 9,100 subscribers. So approaching 10,000 subscribers. And it's been amazing. That channel's taken off. It's kept me busy as hell. I've ended up doing live streams, which wasn't something I actually imagined doing a lot of, but that seems to be the most popular videos of all. So that's been great because I now have an audience, and with YouTube and TikTok and Twitter, and I've got approaching 35,000 followers or subscribers to the Moving Home with Charlie channels. So I have an audience, an audience that if I was having to buy that audience through advertising would be costing me tens of thousands a month. And this is good news. This is good news because it means I have got a real chance of getting the traffic I need to Best Agent, the property site, to generate the income that I need to start to grow the team, grow the business, and eventually, hopefully, have the money to complete my mission.
I still think it runs ever so cold, this engine.
I think that's just a gauge reading problem.
So today's flying mission was just designed to try and restore some confidence. And so I took a safety pilot with me, who's an instructor. And I made the mission to go and do an inspection of Davidstowe Moor in Cornwall. It's on the north of Bodmin Moor. It's called Davidstowe Moor, and it's a microlight base, and it's got 6 runways, but they're short. They used to have a long runway there, but it's not in good enough condition.
So what I'd like to do, and this is what I'll just keep on telling you. I'll just sort of make my own plans and let you know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'll just do sort of a left-hand orbit of the whole airfield.
Departures are best now maintaining 1,500 feet down your right-hand side.
Probably 1,000 feet AGL.
Yeah, you'll see if the paramotors are out. You'll see them all.
It's 1,000 feet. Okay, it's 1,000 feet MSL almost.
2 miles there.
So 2,000 feet.
Looking, hit my 5. Traffic inside. Returning to the left. Thank you.
And then I'll slow the plane down and we'll just do some slow approaches.
Whatever you like.
Thank you.
And I wanted to go and check out and see whether or not I could land the 182 there. And I wasn't planning to land it there today, but I wanted to go and sort of do a recce. And I'm glad I did, because what I've worked out I need to do is to actually go by ground, go there by car and walk around it. Because it has an almost 1,000 foot elevation, making it a couple of hundred feet, almost 150 feet higher than Dunkerswell. So it's a really high airfield, a great place to go for camping or just for picnics, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's a road. I can see cars driving. Okay. Oh, that's why 24 is so short though. So it stops at the road, or
Yeah.
does the road actually cross the road?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's pretty short. Oh, it says it's 400 metres, doesn't it? But I think that's a bit optimistic, to be honest.
Yeah, well.
Just see if there's any activity around the old hangars.
So there's a tall tower right underneath us now. I mean, we're way above it, but
There's a couple of planes out. Just down there.
well, there's a minibus. There's a bus there with the door open. Oh, that's looks like a police bus of some kind.
Yeah, they do all sorts of stuff there.
There's a car. It almost needs a recce on foot, doesn't it?
I would, because it's such an odd place to go in, and even after you've landed, you wouldn't know where the hell to go unless you've walked it first.
But it's where, I mean, there is a guy who teaches out of there.
Yeah, Gary. Just messaging me and see if he's there, actually.
It looks landable from up here. It doesn't look as bad as it. But he said, watch out for stones and potholes and stuff. Well, why don't we do a sort of long, slow approach with 20 degrees of flaps in along the main runway?
Must have been a hell of a place in its day.
Yeah. It's got a lot of potential. It's the sort of place where if the runway was a bit better, you could have a pilot's festival. Fly-in festival.
They're not allowed to do any improvements.
What? There's a car on the runway, yeah?
Because obviously people are trying to develop the airfield, but they can't because of all the flying going on and sheep and common land and all sorts of other problems.
1990, which is level 3,000 feet, maintaining runway.
So part of their planning permission is they're not allowed to improve anything.
Deconfliction service.
Okay, so that I can see. No, that's not a runway.
I think it's the bit right in the middle that's usable.
Yeah. Okay, it's the potholes. All right, I get it. That bit's usable there. 2406. No, I can see there's some white lines on that bit there. Okay, 1, 2 there, so it's just that bit there. All right.
That's going to be a fun mission. In the car, we'll drive up there and scope it out and see which runways are safe to land on or not. Because I mean, the runways are about 400 meters long, but that my plane's got no problem taking off and landing at 400 meters on hard runways. There are some surprisingly tall towers, antennae, quite close to the airfield actually, which I thought was interesting. So that's why I think that being a private pilot, I think aviation is like a cruel lover. You never know where you stand. You take your life in your hands every time you go up there. And it feels amazing every time you fly. And sometimes it frightens the life out of you. But every time you've been, all you want to do is go up again. And it doesn't matter what it costs. If you've got the money, you'll throw it at it. And it doesn't matter how badly it treats you, you still want to come back for more. But this brings me on to what I think is the reason that everybody should fly and try and fly if they can. Because being a pilot is an incredible metaphor for being alive. It's the most challenging thing I do on a consistent basis. And you literally take your life into your hands, and your lives and the lives of your passengers are in the hands of your judgment and your skill. And that pressure never goes away. As a private pilot that only gets to fly 50 to 100 hours a year, 1 to 2 hours a week, you're never going to have the confidence and the readiness of someone that's flying commercially. And when you are raising a family, homeschooling, running a business, and living in a country where the weather's shit a lot of the time, it's incredibly hard to find a day when the plane's not in maintenance, the weather is allowing you to fly, the daylight is long enough, and you as the pilot feel comfortable to fly. But flying has taught me, or being a pilot has taught me, so many skills that are valuable in the whole of life. So decision making is an obvious one. But the one I think most of all, above all, it teaches you is humility. I really genuinely think that. And it also gives you this incredible skill of, a lot of humans, it's human nature to just go, oh, everything's going to be all right. And you believe what you want to believe, and you look on the bright side and you just hope it's going to be okay, and you crack on, right? And that's an approach to life that gets a lot of people through. But you can't do that with aviation, because if you do that with aviation, it'll kill you. You kind of have that beaten out of you, and instead you have to go, right, what could go wrong on this flight? Is the weather going to be a threat? Am I going to be a threat? Is the aircraft going to be a threat? Is traffic going to be a threat? And you can't ever go, oh, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. Of course, we've all done that. We've all occasionally have done that. But whenever you read accident reports, it's so often the case that there was that sort of complacency, or it'll be fine, or they get their itis. And, for any pilots watching this who think, no, flying hasn't taught me humility, yet your day will come. I think my real day that I had my arse handed to me on a plate, and there've been a few, but was that one with Archie in Norway, when I forgot to untie the fender off the seaplane and his door popped open on the takeoff run, and I was so tense and just not in a good relaxed flying state of mind that I had a boot full of right rudder in without realizing it, and I was cross controlled and couldn't understand why the plane had to have left aileron to keep me flying level. And then I landed straight away, but we flew all the way to Norway. We spent hours getting ready to fly that day. I had not closed the latch on Archie's door properly, and at the beginning of the takeoff run, this happened. And
I continue the takeoff run with the door open, fully unaware that it's open. But at some point I realised it was open and I closed it and latched it properly. But suboptimal, I think, is a generous term to describe the idea of the door popping open next to your 4-year-old son on his first seaplane flight.
And it was just a disastrous flight. I mean, we landed safely and everything was okay in the end, but it really, really teaches you humility. And I'll link to that video if you haven't seen it. That was a tough day. That was one of my worst days. But you know, leading up to today's flight, I've just been feeling this. I'm so exhausted by everything else that's happening. I found myself thinking to myself, have I got the energy for this? Do I want to go on funding something that's, you know, for the same amount of money down, I've got less than half the flying this year with that uncertainty? And although, you know, flying stress is good stress, it's pushing you stress. Do I want that? And haven't I got enough on my plate with family and kids and homeschooling and business and everything else? Maybe I just don't need flying in my life anymore. Maybe I should just give up. No chance. No chance. It doesn't matter. I don't care how hard it gets. I will never give up on my flying. I will never give up on anything. I'm not someone that gives up. It's not. I don't actually know how to do that. To me, giving up would just mean utter misery, and wondering what could have been if I hadn't given up. So there's no giving up. There's no giving up. And I'm sorry if the title of this video is a bit clickbaity, but you know, it passes your mind. It does cross your mind about giving up when you get more children and it gets harder and harder. And a lot of you know that. And I know that actually some of you guys who are retired pilots who watch this channel, and so you'll know what I mean as well. To give up on flying would be to give up on my dream of taking my family around the world in a seaplane. Hopefully a twin turbine Otter on amphibious floats. That's the weapon of choice for that mission. Whether it'll happen, I don't know. When it'll happen, I don't know. How I'll pay for it, I don't know. Maybe Best Agent will be able to pay for it. Maybe I'll get some sponsorship to help pay for it. I don't know. But the point is, I'm not going to give up trying to make it happen. I love flying. And today, it felt so good when I got back from that flight that I've just got to figure out a way to manage my life and workload better so that I do have some energy and time for flying and I can enjoy it. But on that happy note, I'm definitely not giving up flying. I'll have to be dragged away kicking and screaming. And the other thing is, I'm definitely not selling the plane. Not until or unless it's part exchanging it for an upgrade. But even then, if I don't have to sell this, I don't want to sell it, because a 182 is an amazing plane to have. You know, even if I would end up in the position fortunate enough to have something bigger to fly, you know, wouldn't a Pilatus be amazing? Take your family around Europe in. But yeah, I've got no idea if that'll happen or not. But even if it did, you'd still want a 182 for local stuff, wouldn't you? I don't think I'll ever sell this plane. I have a dream about getting my 182 back over to its spiritual home of America, Kansas, I think. Or is it Kentucky? I can't remember. Where the Peterson Stoll aircraft are made. And getting it back there for a bit of an overhaul. You know, get it a new panel, some new paint, and get it properly overhauled by its maker, the amazing Todd Peterson, and then do some touring in the States in it. Wouldn't that be awesome? Would involve flying across the Atlantic though, which I'm probably not going to do. My plan would be to fly up to Wick, the island, Scotland, and then fly commercially to Goose Bay in Canada, and then pick it up from there and start to head down across the States. No chance of that happening anytime soon, but thank you for watching if you've watched all this far. This is a personal video diary. I make these videos primarily for me and my family. The kids love watching the old vlogs. They absolutely love it, which is a bonus I wasn't expecting. They love watching the ones of us in Norway, the ones of us flying to Tresco, and it's just really happy memories. And you know something? There are a lot of those trips that if we hadn't made videos of them, we'd just forget them. I would never want to be a YouTuber as a living because, my God, It's really, really hard doing these videos. But they've been totally worth it. Personal reasons, for the family, for the vlog. You know, we're making this wonderful video diary we're going to have forever. It also has helped me and got me really used to making videos and helped me reach a level of proficiency to make the Moving Home with Charlie channel work, which is hopefully going to help Best Agent work and help the dream come true of flying seaplanes. The Cessna 180 in Norway is having fresh paint this winter, and its new floats, or new to it floats, have arrived finally from the States. But we missed the whole 2022 season, but it'll be back in the water at a new base in Norway for the 2023 season, so I'm looking forward to that immensely. I will be doing other videos. I'm going to do a video just about my infringement story and how that ended. Unbelievable. And I also want to dive a bit more deeply into why I fly and why I think everyone should fly. And for any new pilots watching this, just things that I would have liked to have known when I first set out learning to fly. Thank you for watching, guys. I look forward to seeing you on lots more videos soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.